we're at the very end here in the final speech, which gets cut from the definitive cut and the theatrical cut. I love this speech so much. I miss it so much. Where Chingachgook says, I mean, it's not even that long. He says that the frontier moves with the sun and pushes the red man and his wilderness forth in front of it until one day there will be nowhere left. And then our race will be no more, be not us. And Day-Lewis says, that's my father's sadness talking. He says, no, it's true. The frontier places are people like my white son and his woman and their children. And one day there will be no more frontier, and men like you will go too, like the Mohicans. A new people will come, work, struggle. Some will make their life, but once we were here. So that's the entire speech. It's again done more slowly, and Russell means gravitas. It's a lot more effective. But what I love about that, and miss so much about it, is that it just elevates the whole movie for me. It takes this like very specific tragedy that we just witnessed and elevates it beyond even like the cultural tragedy of the Native American genocide. I mean, it makes it like beyond, maybe even beyond global, like to universal. It's summing up the themes of the movie in a way that just can be so deadly awful in the wrong hands, I feel like. And the characters turning to the camera to lecture the audience in like really anachronistic terms, basically say like, oh, isn't it awful what we did to these native peoples?
But as you say, it's universal. It's the passage of time.
Yeah, that actually hits on. Yeah. That hits on.
Like if you were really terrible about it, I don't know, you could like take that speech away from Chingachgook and completely and have like the writer director themselves appear on screen as a never before seen character and deliver that lecture their own white ass self. And what kind of an ass would you have to be to do that though? So
I agree with you, Al. That's the one thing, the one addition from the DVD version I wish was in the definitive cut. And it's hearing you say that and what you're saying actually completely compliments. When I was watching this weekend, I was thinking, because one of the things I've struggled with is like, what's this film actually about? Because I will admit, first off, thematics are not my strong point. Secondly, I, for a long time, didn't really think the movie was about much, but I've watched it this weekend, and I really think that what you said, this film is about, to me, I think it's about the personal contrasted with the kind of inexorable forward movement of the universe. It is, individual struggles with claiming themselves or claiming a stake for who they are and trying to somehow fight against or win against this inexorable, I'm not going to say progress, but inexorable movement of history, of time. Of time. I want to say destiny, but I don't really like the connotation of that. But I mean, we just see all these characters in this film who are all in their own way trying to stop what's happening and get their little world to be safe. And none of them are going to get what they want. None of them. Because things are just going to keep this monolithic thing is just going to move forward and steamroller all of them.
Yeah, that's what that speech does. Because I don't know that the movie is about all that, like in every scene building up to it necessarily.
I agree.
But that speech, it just kind of, it glides right over all this stuff. It bypasses like our whole political moment or the political moment of 1992, and it makes that big sweeping statement you're talking about how the tides of history will sweep us all away. And something about, I mean,
to some extent, isn't that what any
Western?
Yeah. Any story about the frontier and pioneers and even wanderlust, isn't any story about those things kind of ultimately about that they are temporal, that they are,
but passing. I just think this is the best articulation of that.
Yes.
That for my money, that I've ever encountered.
Yeah.
Just this speech, and coming off of, the power of those sequences, like you're so emotionally battered at that point that it really carries me away. And I think it feels wise in a way. Like part of what I love about this movie so much is, how it avoids the exoticizing of Native Americans or the putting them on a pedestal of being these fonts of wisdoms rather than people. But there is something about this that it is such a sweeping far-reaching sentiment that I can't call it anything but wise. And because it goes even right past like, boy, the white man sure was horrible to these Native Americans, to being something even more general about like, even as the colonizer, as the victor in whatever cultural battle you're in, or you imagine yourself to be in, like you were a fool to think that the tides of history won't wipe you away too.
Mm-hmm.
And that's that, like the part about how like, yeah, like my people are gone now, but even you, my white son, you're a man of the frontier, and that's not going to last either.
Yeah.
And it's kind of the sentiment from No Country for Old Men that I talked about recently with you, John. And it's also not that far off Abe Simpson saying that, I used to be with it, and then they changed what it was. It will happen to you. But going back to No Country, just the idea that resonates so powerful with me is that the idea that history ends with you, and that being vanity,
right?
And that we're all always laying tracks for the erasure of our own way of life from this earth, and that applies to Mohicans, and I think it applies to me in the present day too. If I'm doing anything, I am building the machine that will wipe out my way of life from the planet.
Well, welcome AI.
But it's also kind of the way it has to be.
Yeah, nothing ever ends, Adrian.
That's not to say it justifies any historical atrocities or anything, but just things have to change and the world has to move on. And that's the way it has to be. And
well, I think that's an excellent sentiment to end on here. I think that's kind of says it all, man. That's fantastic. And for a fantastic movie.